Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Allie,
And I'm Andre.
and this is
The Love is Blind podcast. Oh,
And
we eyed each other to get that timing.
some serious eyeballing going on.
Next time, maybe we should say whether we're going to say it in duet
We
or
should
not.
do some sort of planning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be novel. We are here to discuss
Episode 2,
of LIB Sweden.
Sweden. And the episode is titled,
Will you marry me?
and the description is...
Sparks fly when one engaged couple meets, while another pair lacks chemistry. One single is confronted about his dating demeanor.
Yeah. And very excited to talk about this episode. Before we go on to that, I just wanted to say thank you to a couple of folks who have, communicated with us or sent some reviews. I will, next time I will make some notes about the folks who have sent in comments on our Instagram as well. But I wanted to say thank you for Flexitarian Want for your review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much. That's very nice and made us feel really happy. Also, thank you, Born Earth, who has been around for a while with us, who has communicated to us on a number of different platforms,
We
and it's awesome.
appreciate you.
And also Rickle4 for a comment on Spotify. Or it might be Rick L4, Rick L4. I don't know. But Rickle4 or Rick L4, which are
Raquel for.
Raquel4. Rickle4? Okay. I'm done. But like these folks, you can give us, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and we'll say your name. You can communicate with us on our Instagram, Love is Blind Podcast.
We love it.
And find us on our Facebook. If you want to send us messages, we'd love to hear from you. It's real fun to communicate and chat with you all. So
And tell your friends. Tell your family.
your friends. Yeah, and it makes us feel good, and it also encourages us to do more.
Yes.
So, please keep going with the praise. We appreciate it.
Yes.
But yeah, let's get started on this episode, which picks off where the last one left off in a cliffhanger.
With the introduction of our first engaged couple, their first sight.
Right?
Yeah.
They get to see each other for the first time,
Yeah.
and it goes better than...
It goes pretty well.
It goes
like about as well as it can go.
Yeah, I think, they seem to be a fun couple getting together.
Yeah.
I have high hopes for them. There is, I'd mentioned this to Allie, but there is a scene in the little montage at the beginning of the first episode that shows two people in a kind of standoff with both of their dogs.
Their dogs, yeah.
In a, what appears to be, at least the way it's shot from a distance, it appears to be sort of like a standoff. Like maybe those two people aren't getting along. And I hope it's not these two. But I do know that both of these two folks have dogs and have spoken about that. So.
Right, and their dogs are important. Well, I guess as many
Dogs
dogs
are
are important
important.
to the people who have dogs.
For
But-
some people, dogs aren't important.
But, I don't know. I feel like this is the chosen couple of the season, as I mentioned. And maybe they had to find some kind of drama.
Yeah.
They'll edit anything to make it seem dramatic.
Yeah. I mean, I think right now the big fear that he had at least was that Chrysalie was going to be Chinese, which is what a wild
Or
thing
just
to be afraid
not
of.
attractive
Or
in
not
some
attractive.
way. Right.
But they get
He's
along.
into her.
He's into her. He finds her attractive. She finds him cute. So it's it's a pretty nice little scene to get started
Yeah.
on.
It's cute.
Yeah.
I mean, things are doing well.
Things are
doing well. That's a way that we speak.
And then we cut
And then they're not.
to Sergio, who is playing a game by himself. I'm sure that everybody from Sweden is going to say it's this game that we all play. I don't know what he's
Right.
playing, and it looks silly.
It looks like some combination of pool and air hockey.
Yes, and he's very happy to have nailed a shot that nobody sees.
Right.
And this is one of the first of several scenes throughout this episode where you get the vibe that none of the men like
No,
Sergio.
not at all. He's all alone. No one's talking to him.
Yeah.
No one saw it. Yeah, when he made us a good shot, he's like, I mean, it's not surprising.
Yeah.
The way is with the girls
Yeah.
apparently is how he is with the guys, and it's not awesome.
Yeah.
It's not awesome. He's got some growing to do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Amanda is talking to Kimia about essentially the fact that he lied to her, and that he said he wasn't dating other people, and that now she feels weird about it. And we begin with, after this, we begin with their sort of scene of confrontation, where they're initially, they express happiness to see each other, and then she kind of confronts him and says, like, hey, what's the deal with the fact that you said you weren't seeing other people, and yet immediately afterwards you then broke up with, was it 2 or 3 different people?
I don't remember how many you broke up with. She says 2. I think it was more than 2.
Yeah.
And then proceeds the most bananas conversation. Yeah.
Because we know for a fact, like, it's not as though he wasn't sure what was happening. We've seen Sergio expressed the fact that he was afraid that he had lied to her, right? That he knew he had messed up already. And so to hear him go like, what do you mean? Like, just continually kind of asking questions, like not giving away any information because he knows that he's messed up and he doesn't want to say something that she doesn't know because he doesn't know how much she knows. And my God, even just seeing this on silent in the background as we're talking right now is infuriating because it is so gaslighting. Because he's like, I'm a man of my word, so clearly there was some kind of miscommunication.
Right.
I wouldn't have lied. And then, when they're talking about essentially, whether she's dating somebody, he asks her, like, he kind of turns the conversation on her. He's like, are you seeing anybody else? And she says, no, there's no competition. There's only one person you can be interested in, I think. And he latches onto that, I think, and gets aggressive because he doesn't want to be the one who's in trouble, you know?
Yeah.
And it is really, it's an ugly behavior that he's displaying. I mean, it's gaslighting, it's controlling, it's manipulative.
I wonder if he's the Uche.
I don't even honestly,
they're very different, but the impact.
Yeah, I've never seen anything quite like this, quite so blatantly. I mean, the way he's gaslighting and manipulating to get his way in this particular interaction is really gross.
Yeah, he's just yes, and also I think he's just caught in a lie and trying to say whatever he can to get out of it. I think I'm saying what you're saying. I think there's an open question for me about like how much of this is intent and how much is he like checked out of himself. But it's bad either way. Yeah.
What do you think about Amanda kind of accepting this?
That was also really frustrating to me because she came in saying, hey, this wasn't cool. And now she's walking out apologizing to him. And that doesn't seem to raise any sort of red flags for her. And it really should be. It really should be. And I think that this is the beginning of a little pattern that we're going to see between the two of them, that I believe we do see, where I don't know what's going on for her, wants him to like her or, doesn't believe in herself. There's something that she's accepting this bad behavior,
Yeah.
and they're probably going to get engaged, and that's really sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know. I mean, is it sad? We're still getting to know them, but
We are.
Sergio has basically every chance he's had to make a bad impression. He's made it.
Yeah. And, we do have the sort of culmination of the scene is that he asks her to be his girlfriend,
Yes.
which is this
Yes.
another, I think, a strange mid-escalation, but I think he's just doing it as and again, kind
Right.
of to swipe everything under the rug and
We're okay now.
sweep,
Which
not
is
swipe.
totally the beginning of a cycle, right? Like, I did something hurtful and I'm going to deny it and instead make it all better and even more better, trying to
Mhm.
instead of looking at himself and taking accountability for anything, he's oriented towards how can I make this problem go away?
Yeah.
And that doesn't work in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, not high hopes for them,
Not long term.
but we'll return to them. For
We-
now,
We move on to Lucas and Amelia,
Mm-hmm.
who are doing pretty great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lucas gets Amelia a really thoughtful gift
Mm-hmm.
of a necklace that he worn while sailing, and then Amelia gives him a letter, which is also really, really sweet,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of starts to. I think Amelia's doing a little bit to try to counter the other person,
Carolina.
Carolina,
Mhm.
who's like kind of like more angling on the sex side of
Mhm.
things, and I think she's trying to say like, look, I can be sexy too, to kind of suggest a spa and a hotel and other things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think these two are pretty cute together thus far. I get good
Yeah.
vibes from them. I get supportive vibes from, honestly, both from, like all of the couples that I've seen other than Sergio and Amanda seem to have support for each other, which is really nice.
Well, so far.
So far.
Because we do get to a couple this ep that does not do well.
Yes.
But yeah, he's, Lucas is torn between Amelia and Carolina. But I guess I was always thinking, like, of course he's going to go for Amelia, because he's wanting to get married.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I see Carolina's very blatant sex first. I don't want to be sex negative. Like, I really get it, girl. Like, I think people should have good sex if that's what they're wanting. I think that it's an important part of a relationship. Again, if that's what those people are wanting. I just think he's intrigued and amused and turned on,
Mm-hmm.
but I never thought he was going to end up choosing her over Amelia. And Carolina seems to be thinking the same, because she changes tactic and instead of focusing on sex, writes him a letter where she's opening up more to him, like trying to show like, hey, I'm a full person. Yeah.
Does she write him a letter?
She talks to him. They have a conversation, and yeah, she's a letter.
Oh yeah, there is a letter, but there's also a pair of panties in that bag.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's both, right?
Okay. But she does. I mean, she sees Amelia come in with the necklace and
Yeah.
is, I think, thrown by that, and I think then gets thrown a second time when she comes into the room and she doesn't have a gift, right? So she can kind of see this difference of like, oh,
Mhm.
Amelia got a gift, I didn't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, assuming that these two things happened in this order, and I think that they did based on the way the narrative kind of works, I'm fairly certain this probably happened shortly after that date with Amelia, Lucas's date with Amelia. And he reads the letter and is, I guess, touched by it, and then immediately
Mhm.
breaks up with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he came in knowing he was going to break up,
Yeah.
and it was, it's tough to break up. It's really tough.
Mhm.
It's never never an easy time.
Right.
And she was probably really excited to show him the letter, and I guess he could have cut it off beforehand, but
Yeah.
I understand. It's I've been on both sides of that coin, and neither one is easy.
Right.
But he does tell her right away that that's after, like, he doesn't, after he reads the letter, he starts saying that, you know, he does have this connection with this other person. Yeah, it's the classic your heart versus your libido.
Yeah.
Right? I wonder if that will come up with him and Amelia at all. Because they were so heart forward, you know? Like, if they have any sort of challenges with attraction or libido or chemistry, I think it'd be very natural for his mind to wander over to Carolina, you know? So we'll see. As we know, we'll see her again. Lucas will get to meet her at some point, and we'll find out what happens. But yeah, I feel for the girl. I mean, I think she just over-identifies as sexy and kind of thinks that's her only selling point.
Interesting.
And that, I think, doesn't work out well for her, because what she wants is a relationship, you know? And that's not usually when you go there. I hate that this is the case, but I think when you go there too quickly, the tendency is for people to see you and only that way, you know? Yeah. I wish it were different. I'm not saying it's fair, but I think that's what happens for her a lot.
Yeah. That's a very interesting way of putting it, but I kind of agree with the over-identifies as sexy is interesting. And probably, doesn't do her any service here.
But we move on to Katya and Christopher, who recall that Katya was just broken up with by Rasmus. So now she's got to put all her eggs in the Christopher basket, or she's going home.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And it begins with an interesting exchange of gifts. They play it off as weird, like the showrunners play it off as weird and quirky. There's a little bit of like a weird, like soundtrack going on in the background, something along those lines. But it is weird. He gave her a fan with a pattern on it, and then he has a scarf with the same pattern.
Yeah, you had a reaction to this. I don't know. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it. I think it's unique.
Yes, it's unique. There's nothing wrong with it. And I just think that it's just a little strange, I think, is what it comes down to. And I think she takes it as a little bit strange too.
She is not into it.
I think she just doesn't know what to make of it. You know?
Or him, you know?
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, we see that later, don't we?
Yes, we sure do.
Do.
That theme will return. But that's a pretty short scene before we move back over to Sergio.
Right. And Amanda.
Yes,
Sergio and Amanda. He gets a single-use camera from her, which is sweet. And then he gives her a bracelet that she doesn't quite know how to put on, or tighten rather. Yeah, the entire time I'm watching this, I'm just kind of like, come on, why?
I know. Well, this is the scene where she opens up to him about how she has scoliosis and how she was really bullied when she was a kid. And he is supportive in the moment, but what we see when he returns to the men's quarters is like quite a scene.
Yeah, I mean, he's barely supportive in the moment too. I mean, he kind of describes...
He's silent, I guess.
He's kind of
I could see how she would take it as supportive.
Yeah, I mean, he mostly just says, like, he's describing it. He's like, I would have been angry if that were me, but you grew strong. And then it seems to kind of just, like, things just kind of end there. I do wonder whether that conversation didn't go on for a little bit longer, because that's a wild thing to have, like, dropped, you know, a big vulnerable aspect, and then be like, okay, cool, well, bye.
Bye, boyfriend.
But
She calls him boyfriend as she leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he just stays in the room and is just, he seems a little bit lost. And he describes it when he comes back into the room as like, I don't like, I think that the fact that she was bullied makes me not be as attracted to her. It's 100% the fact that she said that she has scoliosis.
Right.
And he doesn't really know what that means. And he's probably a shallow person who doesn't necessarily want to have to deal with somebody's health issue, which is that's
or that
really
she's not
messed up.
attractive because of it.
Or that she's
which
really,
the other dudes totally call him out on this, especially Christopher.
Yeah, Christopher is real upset about it, and power to Christopher. I'm happy.
Yeah, we were
happy.
like, everyone's like, go Christopher.
Yeah. Yeah, and he even says like, I wanted to stand up for her because she wasn't there to stand up for herself. But yeah, all of the other men are real upset with him. From so many points of view, like what is wrong with you? You should stop talking. You should,
right. And like, I think disproportionate to the to the date he had, at least how he's relaying it. Which, don't get me wrong, I think it is really mean and immature what he's doing, but it makes me think like, even the body language in this scene, the guys are all sitting around and Sergio is standing up and away from them. And they seem very much like they were the guys seem very much like they were in a conversation and Sergio is intruding.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes me think like they really don't like him. And now this clown comes in and like is going to bust up our time with another one of his things, and this is another one of his things. And of course it's like, him saying this girl that I said I wanted to be my girlfriend and now opened up to me. He's smoke and mirrors, right?
Yeah. And I also by the way, I'm acutely aware of how, we try to be compassionate to pretty much everyone here.
I know.
But we also have to like call out bad behavior when we're seeing it. And Sergio is not.
He's not behaving. He's probably not like a terrible person. I think he is a very young person, which makes me think he did not have an easy childhood, Like he had some sort of childhood that resulted in either him being left alone by himself a lot or having some role models that exemplified this type of behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one taught him how to grow up.
Right.
So I think that's there. And also it's not great. Yeah. He needs to do that work. I don't know why he's on this show. It doesn't seem like he wants to get married. I think he's here for fame, right?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, DJ, football coach. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to get his DJ career maybe.
Back, yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, he ends the scene with the men and the talking head just sort of saying, like, I'm ashamed of the way that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And maybe he is ashamed of the way he's thinking.
I don't know.
But
I think he's wanting the guys to say, "Oh, I would totally feel the same way." I think he's wanting to confess this and then have someone else validate that he shouldn't feel so bad.
Oh yeah, you're probably spot on with that.
But he should.
He should feel bad. Yeah.
But again, I do think if they liked him more and this was kind of out of character, it would be a different thing. Like if he came and talked to one of them one-on-one and said like, I don't know what to do. I really, really care about her, but we're going to get married. And I hate to say, there's a way he could talk about it if he had a good relationship with them that I could see being very different. And I think we do need places to talk about the things we feel, like the parts of ourselves that we feel bad about, But I just think the guys are over him.
Yeah.
So
right.
Next scene is Katya and Christopher
who are on their proposal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really sweet. He is, as his language is really cute and over the top. It's very sort of poetic the way he speaks about her. And yeah, they get engaged. The scene is quite short. He describes how you wish he could have spoken to her dad to like ask her hand, but it's fairly sweet. And it's not, we don't get a whole lot from them.
Yeah.
Obviously she's emotional, but they're both kind of just sitting down and just feeling each other out, and she's happy to be engaged. And she feels, I guess, about him the way that she hasn't felt about other people in the past, which is awesome. It's awesome to feel like that. It's awesome to have that feeling.
It is. Yeah. A lot of their scenes are short, actually, now that we are watching it through again. I wonder why.
Yeah.
I wonder if the editors, there's got to be some choice that they're making their scenes much shorter than the other couples.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because it's short, we don't have much to say before we jump back to Amanda and Sergio, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the scene where he said that he had some doubts crop up.
Right.
And he worked through them. And he's here,
Yeah. And he's wanting to share that with her, and she's made to feel better by him sharing that. Obviously he doesn't go into a whole lot of detail about
he leaves
the
it vague.
doubts.
Yeah. Which I think is key, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, because I think in this show it's normal for doubts to come up, so she's probably interpreting it as like he got some doubts in general about the show and the format and marrying and everything. And I wonder if it'd be different if he was like, I got some doubts because you told me you had scoliosis and were bullied and I'm worried you're not attractive.
Yeah, that would have been a very different conversation.
Yeah.
And, I keep thinking, the thing that I think to myself a lot of the times, I'm like, he's aware he's being filmed, right? Because she's going to see all of this, regardless of how this goes. So I guess to your point of like, he's just here for fame.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see how he thinks any of this will play out any other way.
I don't think he's thinking about that at all.
Yeah.
Is the answer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he seems, I remember I don't remember who we were talking about, but from some of the US series, that in therapy we think of things in terms of their like developmental ages,
Mm-hmm.
and his is quite young,
Yeah.
So it's like if you busted a kid and the kid then said, oh, hey, Tommy, did you break the lamp? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
When it's obvious that they broke the lamp, no, I didn't break the lamp, and it's interesting, this one child psychologist, Dr. Becky, she's very famous. She talks with parents about, when it comes to kids lying, parents often take it very personally and forget the component of lying that is the wish that what they were saying was the truth,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really, I think for Sergio, it's like he wishes that it were true that he hadn't been talking to anybody else when he said it,
Mm-hmm.
and, right? Like, so he's telling like the wish, which is it's a reason people lie, and it's very young, but I think that's where he's at,
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, from the point of view of the like a child psychology aspect of it, what changes in a child to have that shift?
I think forming a secure base with people and realizing that there's room for you to be fallible and still loved and accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Sergio's had that.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't sound like he has. Sounds like he's always had to be that dude,
Yeah.
Probably even when he was young.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and maybe no one noticed if he
Yeah.
was lying when he was young, right? Maybe that's that neglect piece that I was thinking about. I don't know. We don't know anything about his past yet, but this is all my hypothesis of how
Yeah.
someone could wind up with his tools.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, I mean, also from the point of view of Amanda, I think there's an aspect of that that's just, she may have had role models in the past too that kind of just accepted men saying one thing as just sort of being the immediate truth, because she kind of like passes over his, I don't know, his lie pretty easily and doesn't seem to like dwell too much on it. So even that kind of seems to have been something that she may have picked up from her own like development.
Yeah, something has taught her that she should not trust her own intuition. Yeah, it's not solid in her. So maybe other people in her life fed her mistruths, you know?
I mean, it's also true that some of the other women didn't necessarily back her particularly strongly to say like, oh, he lied to you.
Yeah.
You should maybe back up from that. And I think maybe there's a part of that, which is that there were a number of women who had initially really written him off fairly quickly, right? So the fact that she was continuing to be into him, maybe a lot of folks were just kind of like, well, look, if you're into him, you're into him. I don't really have any more advice. But yeah, I kind of wish that somebody like that, other folks would have like stood up for like, you know, for her in the sense that they should have just said, you need to really
think about this.
Yeah,
this is a marriage. Yeah.
He is lying to you. He has lied to you.
Yeah. So I can see how being given the information that she was given by him, which is I started to have some doubts. She's very supportive. I can understand saying that. I mean, I think she's very forgiving of him, but in that specific context, if that's all he's sharing, okay. But yeah, it's again his wish, right? He wishes that he can be absolved of feeling this way, so he's going to tell the version that makes it seem like that's going to most elicit that, you know? He wishes he didn't feel this way and it was okay. So then we jump to the meeting between
Christopher and Katya.
And
And boy, is this a little awkward.
Yeah. You go.
Well, I go. Oh man. Well, Christopher is having the day of his life. He's real happy. Goes down on his good knee. Proposes, and is complimentary about Katya. He's like, "You're gorgeous," and she, in response, goes, and says nothing together. And you know, he's in the place where I guess where you would expect the couple to be at this point, which is like, yay, we're happy, we're finally getting to see each other. She, on the other hand, is in this kind of state of apparent shock.
No.
Yeah. And is kind of thrown by his looks, clearly. You know, like, she describes it in the little talking head scene as she's not disappointed, more like surprised, because he's more of like a rocker guy with pearls around his neck and big boots. But I think, you know, underlying that is just the fact that I don't think she's attracted to him. And she's wondering whether...
She thinks she can do better, I think.
Yeah, but I wonder whether she's also wondering... Look, I did fall for somebody on the other side of that wall. Is this still possible? Is this still a relationship that I can move forward with? Because there is a person there who is supportive of me and who wants, you know, who is really into me. So is this somebody I can grow to be attracted to? Or, yeah, I think there's an aspect of that for her.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, well, I think it's important to remember that I think she was more into Rasmus. And so he's already her plan B. We didn't see a lot of their dates, so we don't know what they talk about and what their chemistry is. He's a nice guy. But yeah, I think she's in the same boat of like what you're saying, like, oh no, this is not what I'm into, but can I get there?
Yeah.
Can I get there? I think is a question she's asking herself a lot, and probably will continue to ask herself.
Yeah.
When the door's shut, she has a lot of body language that's like, oh no.
I mean, she takes
Conveying
out the ring
panic.
briefly.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Not a fun position for either of them to be in, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the really unfortunate thing, and I feel really bad about this, is that Christopher I don't think saw any of this really necessarily in the moment.
No.
I don't think he was like. I think he was just like, oh, she's just surprised and shy.
And shy.
I don't think that any of him was like, oh, she's not into me at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to be maybe something that's going to obviously come up later.
I think it's going to be painful to unfold.
Yeah, and it's really difficult to be aware of.
Yeah. And I feel, it's marriage, right? You have to be into the person, but it's really going to hurt Christopher too.
Yeah.
But that does not go well.
Yeah.
We're primed for a very triangulated, drama-filled honeymoon with Rasmus and Chrysalie and Christopher, and that reminds me of Jessica and Mark actually from season 1. Yeah, I wonder if it will play out like that. But throwback. We come then to Emilia
and Lucas and their proposal
scene,
which is adorable.
Mm-hmm.
I really like all of the things that he says, that she says. They're a couple I'm rooting for pretty strongly.
Yeah.
I think of all of the couples that we've seen so far, I think the two of them, I hope things go well for them, because I think that just based on what I've seen in the edit in this show, I'm like, these two actually might be really good for each other.
Yeah.
I think these
what
two
makes you say that? Like, what about them?
I think they're kind folks who really want to move forward with marriage, who have connected on a lot of things together, and who I think have a good base established already between the two of them, between like having opened up to each other and been supportive, and also kind of like, at least from Lucas's perspective, at least having rejected the sort of short-term fling. Mm-hmm. This is something that, and I'm reading into the fact that like, that his other option was essentially would have maybe turned out to be something a little bit more short-term.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily know if that's true, but yeah, I just, I have good vibes from them.
Mm-hmm. They seem like sweet people.
Yeah. I think they both seem like sweet, gentle people.
I do get the sense that Emilia is more into him than he is into her. But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, the thing that threw it for me was him giving the necklace. I was like, that's a
he could just
big bold
gesture. Just
gesture.
hold his cards close to his chest.
It's very possible.
Or vest. We never figured out which one it was.
Yeah. For close listeners of our show, we still don't know what that expression is.
We haven't Googled it.
We have close to the chest or close to the vest.
Comment. Leave us a message. Which one is it? Google that for us, please.
Okay, so after, we get Emilia and Lucas going back, they have their happy moment, going back to the men's room, women's room, respectively. We now cut to a couple that we have seen very little of, if any, which is Oscar and Isabel. And
with, again, a very long description of her title. Seems like a personal assistant, but there's like 5 words.
Yes, and they're very long words. I'm sure it's a very similar to like German, where you combine 3 different words to create a single word.
Maybe. We love you, Sweden.
Yeah. And Oscar seems to have a concern that he states right away, which is that they always have fun, but that maybe there should be more to a relationship than that. And that simply having fun and getting along isn't good, because that, from his perspective, is just a friend.
What do you think of this vase gate, which as a reminder is for the viewer, is that or listener, he asked, "Are you ready for marriage?" And she hesitated for a moment and then said yes. And he said, "You hesitated," and she said, "Oh, I was looking at a vase."
Her hesitation is a quarter of a second.
Yeah. I had the same thing. I was like, "Did she?"
Yeah, he says, "Are you ready for marriage?" Yes. I was like, that's not.
I don't even think she I think she goes, "Yes."
I think she us.
Oh, yeah?
She
Okay.
certainly us, but even the is very. It's not an yes. It's like an yes.
Yeah.
So again, not sure, but I think they're trying to set up a particular aspect of a dynamic between the two of them. Maybe they might be one of the couples that moves forward, and therefore we're trying to see. This is a thing we're trying to establish as a pattern that you might notice later on,
maybe.
which is they're just having fun and they're not
Not serious.
Not serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A few more introductions. We have
Johan and Camilla.
Johan was Mr. Meat.
Mr. Meat.
Mr. Meditation is my coffee.
Yes, meditation.
Coffee for the mind.
Yes, meditation is coffee for the mind.
And he wakes up with goes in an ice bath and meditates.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like he should, I think I said last time, he should always have an ice pick. I stand by that statement. I feel like...
Is that the vibe you get from him, is ice pick?
I feel like he goes ice swimming and ice fishing and this dude is like, "I'm going to be a man."
He's not only "I'm going to be a man," but he just he might be the sweetest carnivore ever. But he's also describing all these things where he's like, I'm gonna like cook you a 3-course meal and do all these like awesome, amazing things for you. And there's a part of me that wonders, will you?
Yeah.
And it's very possible that he will, but he says that he's just never had anybody appreciate him in return.
In the same way, like cook meals for him and everything. Yeah.
But yeah, he's an interesting character. I have a hard time getting a read on him. He also at one point mentions that I think it might not have been to Camilla, it might have been to somebody else, but he mentions how he's like he's done modeling. Mm-hmm. And again, that's just
probably for ice pick ads.
Ice pick ads, which to me, from my perspective, I was like, he's just saying that because he wants the person on the other hand to be attracted to him, having not seen him.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, he must be attractive. Because he's modeled before.
He rubs me the wrong way, and what I'm struggling with is I can't tell if that's something legit coming from him, or if it's my stuff that he has such a different view on gender roles in relationship, it seems, than my own. But if both people are on board with that, I'm okay. But it's just so different from my own that I find myself bristling. But again, my confusion is that, am I picking up on something from him, like for real? Or is he just very different from my own values?
He strikes me exactly the same way. I don't, like I was just describing when he's talking about the things that he would do for a partner, and I can't tell how much of it is genuine, you know? I can't get a good read on how genuine he is. And I don't know whether it's the edit or the way, I don't know what about him.
Right. It's something that's like, I don't totally trust him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We then move on to Oscar and Mira. Mira,
his other love interest.
Yes, and she's the one who did Bollywood.
Bollywood.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he describes his 3 levels of relationships that he thinks you can either end up friends, you might end up with a fling, or you might end up with that long-term person. And she says, well, I get a little tickle in my tummy. Mm-hmm. So I think, the contrast we're trying to establish here is the fact that he is concerned about Isabel, or is it Isabella?
Isabella, I think.
That they're just having fun, and he's trying to see that deeper aspect, and trying to find somebody who's not just a friend.
Which is a frequent lament of guys on this show.
Say more.
Yeah, I just feel like that happens a lot. It happens here, right? We also had Lucas just say that with Carlina. And I'm recalling Colleen and Cole from season 3. Even Stacy and Izzy. Izzy was concerned that they, and that they only had fun and didn't talk about hard things. Yeah, I don't know. It seems to be a very common thing, and it makes me wonder because I think as women, we're taught that you should be fun, I don't want to say that universally, but I think a thing that like we've heard is attractive is to be fun. And so I do wonder why all these guys are honing in on that. I mean, I feel like I'm not forming this thought well. Of course, if you're going to marry someone, you want more than that. But I guess I think what I'm coming around to is I have empathy for some of these women who are being told they're not deep enough, because it's really hard to flirt and also be deep, and the stakes on the show probably seem really high.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I think it'd be really hard to know how to be.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well,
be yourself.
Mira and Oscar have themselves a little bit of a date where they seem to get a little bit deeper. So they seem to get to that level that
so she's
Oscar
pulling ahead.
Yeah,
I think
that Oscar is looking for. And when Oscar goes back, he's in the same room with Johan. Johan is kind of hearing this, and I believe he's going on a date with Mira right after that.
You have a little quadrangle
square. And he seems real concerned about the fact that he doesn't really want to make decisions that soon. He's like, I don't know. I don't think he's ready, right? He's just like, I don't know how you get somebody to be like, okay, let's just get married when you don't know them well enough. And he expresses this concern, I don't know if it's in this moment or a little bit later, but that he thinks Oscar is making moves just to get Mira a little bit closer to him. And that is kind of putting him at a disadvantage, right? Because he's not making moves to advance things. So instead he kind of goes the route of like, well, I look sexy. I've gotten to model. I look good in a suit, but I won't put a suit on very often.
Yeah.
And he's kind of trying to find a way to pull ahead of Oscar without making the sort of types of gestures that Oscar, I think he's seeing Oscar is going to be willing to make. Which is to start actually, to start moving forward. Like, I mean, what ends up, I think, he does, like, he gives her a promise ring,
essentially, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But
yes, I think that's right. I think Johan's feeling the pressure to pick it up, and he doesn't necessarily want to pick up the pace. Yeah, yeah. Which, I get, even if I don't particularly jive with him. 10 days is not a long time to make one of the hugest decisions of your life, and I can understand with not wanting to speed that up. Yeah. So engagements, we have Lucas meeting Emilia for the first time, and it goes so well.
It goes really well. I think they're really into each other.
Yeah.
That's why I'm also rooting for them. They just seem, even when they meet, I'm like, oh, you guys like each other.
Yeah.
You guys like the way each other look, and you are, I think you feel safe about each other. And that's really awesome. It makes me happy. I root for these folks, and then yet I don't know anything about them other than what's been edited into this show. But
the editing makes us like them.
The editing makes us like them, and what we've seen so far, I think they seem to be a cute couple.
Yeah, all's well. And so, of course, we won't linger long because things are going well. We have to get back to things that are tricky.
Where we get the wonderful contrast between in the men's quarters,
Yes.
Oscar is on a bouncy ball, like a gym ball, just
Yeah.
like rolling around like a goof. And then I believe we cut to the women's quarter where they're doing a
Bollywood dance.
like a choreographed dance. And I was like,
Mira is teaching them. Yeah.
this is the kind of contrast that we'd come to expect. Yeah. So then we see Oscar in the room.
Aforementioned promise ring scene.
Yeah. And he's like, I see myself proposing to you, but I'm not going to propose to you, but I'm going to make moves that indicate that I'm probably going to propose to you so that you don't think about other people. It seems to be kind of what he's doing, which is a little shady, kind of, because he knows that she's seeing other people, you know? Yeah, so I
All's fair in love and war, baby.
I guess so. And then he
ends things, I think.
Yeah, and he ends things with Isabel
Isabel, okay.
and calls it a bro relationship.
Yeah, it's
which is
unnecessarily harsh,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think he didn't want to spook Mira off.
Yeah.
By proposing early.
Mm-hmm.
But wanted to stake his claim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how that goes. Johan is trying his best in his meeting with Mira to say that he still wants to be in the game. He still wants to be one of her options.
Mm-hmm.
And she seems to indicate that he still is, right? That even though she got this ring from Oscar, she hasn't said yes to a proposal. She's just still seeing both of them. And then she describes that she's the happiest after her dates with Johan. So I think that that makes him feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Makes him feel a little bit more validated. And yeah.
Do you think that she means that, or do you think she really favors one or the other?
I think she might genuinely have not decided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree. I think she's enjoying being pursued.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think she's actually more attracted to the being pursued.
Yeah.
And to either one of them necessarily.
Possibly, but it's also, to your point, you probably want to take advantage of the full 10 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Might as well.
I think she does like them each. Yeah.
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 And then we go to Sergio and Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
And I just noted this, and maybe I'm off about this. Maybe I should have taken closer notes. But their last scene, their previous scene that we saw together with the two of them, I think they were wearing the same clothes. I wonder if this is the same scene or the same day. I don't recall exactly what the last thing that happened, but
Scandalous.
I do feel like maybe they just split that scene in two.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen this leather getup of hers before.
Maybe she was just wearing the leather jacket, but not the... Because I just recall thinking to myself, she's dressed up for that conversation.
Huh.
And he's in a jacket.
His outfit looks the same, I
guess
think.
he's always wearing
yeah, he might always wear the same thing.
He might, yeah. That part might be right. But yeah, we get a proposal.
Mm-hmm.
And
she sadly says yes. He's proud of himself for getting over some of his shallowness.
And that's somehow a life lesson that he's been taught through this. It remains to be seen.
I think in his mind he's sincere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I think that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I don't know. He seems so checked out of himself.
Yeah. And also,
yeah.
I think we jumped the gun on the Oscar promise ring.
Oh, okay.
It only just happens after the Sergio and Amanda scene.
I see. Okay, yes. So sorry about that. Oscar was coming in hot earlier, and didn't give her a ring, and now he's given her a promise ring.
Yeah. So, okay, Johan had was just feeling like things were moving forward, but now he can definitely see that he's moving forward. I do still think that the tone of the conversation was pretty much still that.
Yeah.
And we do still get the scene at the end between Johan and Mira where he kind of says like, yeah, I heard about the ring.
Yeah.
And she does in fact say, it's not a proposal. It's not an engagement ring.
There's still time.
And, because she says decided and undecided, as in like, I haven't made my decision, So yeah, I think this might still be, an open question.
Yeah. She's not sure yet.
Yeah.
It happens. There's one when Oscar is telling the guys about the ring. He said something like, "It's not the ring she deserves," and that brought up that. What's that line from Batman? He's not the hero we need, or something.
It's the hero
we deserve.
You know what? When you started that
so hard.
When you started that sentence, I did not know that you were going to end in Batman.
You gotta keep it fresh, you know.
But honey, I love you.
I love you too. I thought of that when we were watching the first time, and now seeing it again, I'm like, it's not the ring she deserves, but it's the ring that she needs. But yeah, both men are coming in pretty hard for Miera, but Johan is like still holding back, right? And he's like, I like you, and I'm only gonna go so far.
Yeah,
he's gonna do this in a tough way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he felt.
Listen,
I think
you're my lady.
He felt vulnerable coming in here and kind of bringing that up.
Mm-hmm.
He did seem at the end of the scene kind of to be on the verge of tears, and I think he, to your point, I don't know if he knows necessarily within the confines of trying to be macho and being a tough man how to be vulnerable as well.
Mm-hmm.
If it's turns out that she's not the person for him, I don't think he wants to have opened up to her.
No, I get both approaches. Oscar's like, I'm going to put everything out there on the line, and Johan's holding back. I guess I kind of personally feel like put everything out there on the line, but I don't know. That's like my own value, and I can understand either way.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting that Miera back in the women's quarters is talking about this with other women, and right next to her is Isabel.
Yes.
That's got to be awkward.
Yeah.
I wonder if she knows that. I don't think there's going to be follow-up from that in this show, but it was just something I noticed.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that takes us to the end of the episode. So I guess next episode we'll see the intro of Sergio and Amanda.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll find out everybody else, I guess.
Yeah.
Who do you think that Miera's going to go for?
I almost think it might be Johan in the end, but I don't know.
I think so too.
She did say that she went from 60-40 towards Oscar to 60-40 towards Johan, so I guess we'll see how that goes. And I'm guessing by the end of the next episode they will be on the honeymoon. It's usually how that goes, right?
It looks like it, yeah.
So
yeah, I kind of think she's going to go for Johan too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Well, let us know what you think. And of course, please leave us comments and 5-star reviews so people can find us.
Yeah.
Really, really does help us. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to our podcast that's often as long as the actual episode. So
yeah, hopefully that part of it is not too much, but
we appreciate that.
We appreciate those of you who go through this journey with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that right now I think we're at like 44 reviews on Apple Podcasts.
Yay.
Let's make it 50.
We get excited with everyone.
Let's make it 45, but then let's quickly get that to 50. just tap that 5-star, make us feel happy.
Yeah.
For having done this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But follow us on Instagram, Love is Blind Podcast. And that's it for us.
Yeah, I've been Andre.
And I've been and remain Allie. We will talk to you at episode 3.